the sun. Ankinatin, life of the sun, or everlasting life of the sun. He's one of those who presented the concept as S-O-N in modern metaphysics. The concept, S-O-N and S-U-N, is the same concept. One represents the soul's unfoldment. The S-O-N represents the personalities involved in the Son's unfoldment. The only begotten of the Father, as the Son of God, is the sun up in the sky. Yeah, okay, but what we're not seeing in this study, that is a representation of a spiritual sun. You know, the very sun that we see every day, even it is a symbol. You know? Then the whole idea of sonship is coming from is another concept. In the other level language, it begins to be Ra, which represents the Father. Okay, one is the projection of that acts as the cause of growth, development, rolling, and nurturing, while the other represents the birth of, which is all kind of right there. Okay, what I want to do for the three of you new folks, relatively new, is deal with the insignia of this concept of the science of self, best referred to in its antiquity as Moorish science. We start with our view of things from the problem to the answer simultaneously, that the answer solves the problem of who am I? We are in search of. We are missing three major keys. The reason I classify them as major because they're not the only keys missing, but three major keys that allow one to find the rest of the knowledge of self. Identity, self-knowledge, and self-revelation. Write those down. You're not going to read those anywhere. I haven't written them yet. And identity encompasses, first and most importantly, because we work, start, look, announce ourselves from outside in our consciousness. Identity begins with name. Everything has a name. The whole peculiar idea of Adam going around naming everything is quite a bit of work. So we know we're not talking about some guy running around planet Earth and everything he says, that's a roach, that's a butterfly, that's a bee, that kind of naming. But we're talking about an intelligence that operates in and as a thing that causes it to function, to behave, to perform certain abilities and powers. That is name. Name and nature are synonyms. The reason you have a name is because you have a specific nature. Your name correlates and corresponds with your specific nature. Even your American Negro-colored name is reflective of your consciousness, your mental abilities, and your spiritual and academic or mundane talents. Understand, the universe is not partial to someone's language. It owns all of them. It promotes communication, intelligence, comprehension. It is not Islamic. It is not Arabic. It is not Sanskrit or Japanese. In the universe's path of identification and clarification, it is language. The highest language that makes reference to my thoughts are not your thoughts, my ways are not your ways, is the language of nature, which is the language of symbolism or symbology. The natural, universal language that no matter what anyone speaks, they can learn one language. The Sufis demonstrate that quite appropriately A Sufi meets another Sufi, and he points to the sky. The other Sufi, who may be from Japan, Germany, Russia, Africa, or Chickasaw, Georgia, would know he's talking about infinity just because he pointed to the sky. Okay? The most similar set of language structures universal like that is that of the Masonic Brethren, B-R-E-T-H-R-E-N, brethren, not brothers. Again, the old archaic language. One says, are you of the brethren? He's not asking if you're his brother, but he is asking you if you're his brother. He's letting you know he's talking about a certain brotherhood. So those three are the point of where we as a people who are disoriented about identity, we're disoriented about self-knowledge, we're disoriented about self-revelation, began it with the question, who am I? And I still insist that the Negro Christian church should be battering the pulpit with man, know thyself, and to thine own self be true, and get busy explaining that what that means to those sitting in those chairs and the children at home who wouldn't come to church because they're convinced Reverend Biscuit doesn't have a damn thing to tell them. And he would have and should have something to tell them if he were interested in his own culture and his own truth. Okay. So we begin there, and we begin with the concept that appears to be religious and is not. The first thing, yes, dear?
I'm sorry, what were the three again?
Identity, self-knowledge, and self-revelation. Beginning with this Codex Inscriptus, the code written in, is what Codex Inscriptus in. You'll find that term in the dictionary. It is most enhanced by, again, the Masonic order and other esoteric orders, which there are numerous ones, of which we only seem to have access to one, and that's the Masonic order and the Eastern Star. The rest of them are predominantly Euro-oriented. The Codex Inscriptus is what this book is a composition of, the code written in. The dictionary is a part of the code written in. The lexicographic writer who wrote the American English Dictionary, not the English Dictionary. The English Dictionary was written in England by a fellow named Edward Johnson, S-J-O-H-S-E-N. That's the first English dictionary. Noah Daniel Webster was a high potentate in the Masonic order and was sent here to write a lexicographic dictionary, while the rest of his group, the founding fathers, put that in quote, established a American Masonic order that brought about the American Revolution. The Paul Revere Ride and all that stuff, those were all Masons. The Bible, the dictionary, and the esoteric literatures of the alleged occult. Usually Christians get nervous at the knees when you say occult, because that in their head is synonymous with the devil. And all it means is hidden. That's all the word occult means. It's right there in the dictionary. And a book like this that helps to explain the code written in, the hidden knowledge, and to decode that knowledge. ISLAM, these are English words first. If I were to write that in Arabic, it would not look like that. Okay. First thing we need to know about translation, okay, so that we're not sliding from one religion to another. I, self, law, am master is the codex meaning of ISLAM. So when you hear brothers say Islam, they're not talking about Islam religion. They're talking about the codex that announces I, which is your third eye, not your ego, self, not your personality, your higher self, am, the I am of your consciousness, law, the universal law. That's what you're striving to become, to embody, is the universal law of mind that is found in this very auspicious and tremendous and terrific book, the Kybalion, that covers the 7 cosmic laws of the universe, explains them clearly. Valuable book, a tool from our ancient ancestor, the one that the Europeans call Thoth, and Hermes Trismegistus, the Greek name title for the name Tehute, which means Lord of Wisdom. Hermes Trismegistus means the 3 times master, or literally 3 times great. I, self, law, and master represent and are represented by these 5 symbols. Now what I'm going to do is try to crash program you into the Moorish inquiry, along with a brief explanation of these 5 symbols. Virtually, those 5 symbols explain the whole of this science. As you study, you'll come to that realization. I think what I ought to do, because no one else has done it thus far, if it's in here, I don't know what page it's on. I don't have these marked as pages. I'd have to give a brief didn't I bring both of those out? Where's the other? Oh, right behind here. I'll put that back in just a minute. I think I better do this instead of jumping right into the birth sign, the sign of Libra, because orientation is important, so you know what we're talking about instead of us just talking. The Moorish Science Temple is an organization that was founded by a black man by the name of Timothy Drew in the early 20s. And Timothy Drew became Noble Drew Ali and prepared a pamphlet called The Koran Circle 7. Well, I'll be darned, it's not in there. I thought it was in there. And in this preparation, he organized a almost scientific religious movement around this little pamphlet and the fact that he had received a spiritual commission as prophet. Prophets don't need anybody to prove that they're prophets. If they say they're prophets, they must prophesy. And they demonstrate their credentials by power and knowledge. And he was able to do that up until the time that the FOP killed him, the devil. The Fraternal Order of Police is the FOP, which is a Masonic order, because evidently he was teaching Masonic knowledge under the auspices of its correct term, Moorish knowledge, to Negroes, colored people.
What was his name? Who was Ali again?
Timothy Drew was his American Negro name, who became Noble Drew Ali. Now, wait a minute here. I got to go page by page. Well, it's worth the effort. I could easily slide it off and say we'll do this later. That's the great procrastinator of Sagittarius. But I won't do that. I'll just politely flip pages here and look ridiculous. Be cussing around here, boy. Can't you see I'm talking? I don't know where that page is. Well, I think I'll just as easily draw it. Where in the world is a... No, it's in here. It's not by miracle. Here it is, right here. Right here. Okay, just before I get into an explanation of ISLAM, let's look at this cover, which is a reasonable facsimile of the cover of the Koran, Circle 7. And again, this has yet to be fully digested by the Moors around America, because what is on the cover is virtually the whole of the science in its presentation, and deeper and clearer than what's in the tablet. It's only a small tablet of about 25, 30 pages of quotes and axioms and a bit of history about Jesus. The concept of the circle. I'll just draw a circle first and then show you what I'm talking about. Symbolically divides the circle into the square. Is a presentation which automatically suggests direction. Which automatically presents the zodiac. The fact of 7 is the fact of 7 planets. Minus 2 spheres. The moon is not classified as a planet, and the sun certainly is not a planet. So 2 and 7 would give you then the 9, technically speaking, planets by inference. In the circle of 7 is and are the 12 personalities on planet Earth. There are only 12. Of all of the multiple billions of people, they all fit into this circle. Because they were all born within the sphere of 365 days at a certain time, on a certain date, somewhere on this planet, which puts them somewhere in this circle, based on 12 signs, a division of 12 parts of 30 degrees each, denotes the tribe of Israel, denotes the sons of Jacob, denotes the 12 sons of Israel, then the 12 tribes of Israel, which is a real turn of the corner. We'll may get a chance to talk about that if I don't over-elaborate here and burn up all the time. But this concept that Drew Ali presented in 1923 far exceeded anything that those earlier Moors even expected. It was just a symbol for them, you know. And of course it harassed and harangued the Orthodox Muslim. That is not Quran. That is Koran. Okay, and it needs to be understood. Those are two different words that have virtually almost nothing to do with each other. Secondly, even Quran is English, but Koran is also English. Now, the first time I noted this, it was on the marquee of a Masonic order in Cleveland, the Al-Quran Lodge, and something else. And it didn't click. You know, nothing up here happened. I mean, it was just, you know. Years later, it clicked. How come they spelled it with a K and they... That's all you have to do is ask. And the Spirit will give it to you. I had never asked, you know, until recently. I'm going to abbreviate these. Write them down. That's knowledge. That's order. Universal order. That's rhythm, R-H-Y-T-H-M. The strangest word in the dictionary. There are no vowels in the word rhythm that depends totally upon vowels in delineation and understanding how rhythm works. Where's my... Astrology. And last but not least, most assuredly, nature. The nature of God, man, and the universe. All of nature is what man must study. The real meaning of Quran, or Quran, giving it its Negro English flavor.
I'm sorry, you say nature is God, nature and man?
Nature, God's nature, man's nature, or rather woman's nature from which you come out of, and the nature of the universe, which includes flowers, bugs, ants, turtles, birds, you name it, you got it. All of nature is what man is to study and to master. See? I'm catching myself. I almost went back to Sunday and get on Reverend Biscuit's case. I'm going to leave him alone. Okay? That's what Quran Circle 7 is. Okay? First, the key here is knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Knowledge of order. There is no creation without order. There's nothing you can do in the universe without order. It is a primary that man understands the order of nature. The order of his body, how it works, what it does, what it functions, what it cannot do, and what you cannot do to it. And the laws that govern the universe, that sets the foundation of order, those are invisible. You can't break them. They will break us. It is the Volkswagen going up a one-way street, and here comes the Max truck. Okay? That's universal order. Okay? We need to know those. That's why I'm forever pushing this in black folks' face, even though I don't get a chance to talk to them but a couple of minutes. Well, brother, you ought to read the Kybalion and not learn how to get in the wind and stand there arguing with him about, brother, the name of God is Yahweh. It's Yahweh, brother. Yeah, okay. 20 minutes, you know. Yeah. Clearly in the Hebrew, it has 4 glyphs. How can you get 2 syllables out of 4 glyphs? Okay? Just a little side parenthesis thing. We're not thinking when it comes to God. We're obeying. We're being blindly led and following blindly, believing. That's not where we are. We aren't in a belief system. We're going to a knowledge, a knowing system of cycles is what I mean by system. Okay, so that should be pretty clear. What verse am I looking for, my sister, that explains this 7? Proverbs chapter 9, verse 1.
Hey, teacher, while you getting into the scripture there.
Speak up. Speak on.
Okay. When you said something about the universal language.
Symbology. We're going to get back to that as soon as I pull this back up here.
Is the face such as a smile? Is that universal that every culture knows what a...
Yeah, but there are a series of smiles. I mean, you can smile with such cold endeavor, you turn the person you're smiling at to ice. Or you can warm a person's heart with a smile. Yes, that's part of nature's symbology. Right, yeah. But we're talking greater than that, you see. In terms of when the sun moves over the horizon at a certain point, it's moving over the horizon so that everyone on the planet can see it. So if the Chinese man measures the movement of that sun position where he is, and the Negro measures the sun where he is, though they even on different days, they're talking degrees, they'll come up with the same calculation if they begin with 0 degrees Aries, which is Madras, India, and not Greenwich, England. Is what we use over here. Okay. This would be 0 degrees. Okay, so any astronomer would know that's 0 degrees in any language, because this is in every language. Okay. He doesn't have to know circle. The Chinese has another name for it. Okay. But they know here is where the sun is viewed on its horizon, supposedly moving up. Okay. That's universal. Okay. The 5-pointed star, which can be found on a leaf in your backyard and in the backyard of Ho Chi Minh's grandson. Okay. That's universal language. I slice open an apple, Macintosh called here. A Greek boy slices open the same kind of apple, and we'll both see a 5-pointed star in the apple. And he's going to call it something else, and I'm going to call it something else. But it's the same shape. That's universal language. Created by nature. Designated by nature intelligently to make reference to something to us intelligently.
So nature is a higher order.
Is the blueprint of what things mean.
But God is the highest of the order.
God is nature manifested. It is not different from God. You see? Again, we get into a term, a word, G-O-D. Then over here, the brother said, it is Allah, brother. And the brother over here, it is Yahweh, brother. It's Jesus. We're getting confused. But nature isn't confused by what I say, Japanese, Chinese. That doesn't change, disturb nature. That's why it's important to understand the function, the power, the ability, the meaning of nature. It does not change.
Can man alter nature?
We are obligated to. Why we're not getting anywhere? Because we're not understanding that. See, we're not trying to do what lower nature is doing. Lower nature stays apart. The bunnies stay over here and the snakes stay over there, and when they get together, the bunny's ass is in trouble.
Right.
See, we're trying to bring nature together to make it harmonize, while we remain uniquely, distinctly different in our uniqueness. See?
But if that's the case, teacher, if we are obsessed to trying to bring harmony with nature, why are we so far apart as human beings?
For 3 reasons. Identity, self-knowledge, and self-revelation. This is not just black folks' problem. The European, the Oriental, has the same problem. Not as pronounced as ours, because someone deliberately scrambled our collective heads. You see? So we're trying to unscramble it.
Do you think that would ever be?
I think we're getting away from what I'm talking about. Okay, let's get back here. Otherwise, we'll miss the time slot we allotted here. Well, I wanted to read and write this down so you can read it later. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 1. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. You can read the rest of it yourself. Note, it does not say wisdom he. Did anybody hear that? It said wisdom her. This is the mother Zedekias. Okay. In the real, oh, let me do it this way here so I don't get, I could have used 2 U's or 1 U. In the Greek, you'll find it 1 O for Zedekias. In the Moorish, it is Zedekias. And up further, it is Zedekias. 2 U's or 1 U. Okay, it gets to be an intellectual problem of jerking off, really. But we're talking about the meaning of things. This is the Greek word for zodiac. It is allegedly presented by one of the founders of the Moorish Science Institute to be the ancient Moorish term for Zedekias, the mother, the woman that no one knows from whence she comes, is referred to as the mother Zedekias. In the esoterica of both Masonic, Moorish, and other sciences, this is Isis as a symbological representation, who said, no man, I am, first the statement is, I am she who is and was, and no man has lifted my veil. Okay? That's the mother Zedekias as Isis. And of course, Isis is a Greek word. Okay? Okay, we've got that little puzzle solved. Now let's jump back here and briefly indulge in these 5 wonderful letters and symbols. The crescent and the star is not of the religion of Islam. The religion of Islam does not have any symbolism. It is anti-symbolic. It considers it to be idolatry. That's why they were responsible for tearing up much of your ancestors' relics in, quote, ancient Egypt, burning stuff and breaking down stuff, that you all were all adulterers, idolaters, idol worshipers. In the name of God, they did this wonderful deed. This is Cancer, the moon. I'll do this quickly. The 5-pointed star. Cancer, the moon, is the mother. The 5-pointed star is the sun. It then coins to mother and son. My son, which is what? Young lady? I'm not talking to this young lady specifically. I want to see if she's with us.
Okay, wait.
You don't have to write, look.
Okay.
Ma, son, mother and son is what?
Mason.
Thank you. That's all I want to know. All right. Okay. That's not on any Quran anywhere on planet Earth. It's on a flag. The flag is not Quran. It's not Islam. That's Moorish flag used by Arabic government. I is the third I, is the I this I is talking about in the esoteric. And it's important because your ego wants to get in here and go, it is me. I am God and I have... And believe me, it gets in there. There's nothing mythic about that. Self is represented by this grand building in Giza, 3.5 degrees north of the exact center of land mass is where the Pyramid of Giza is found. which is mentioned in Isaiah chapter 19, verse 24. The perfect building is what it represents, and is given in Maxium, the building not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. The body is that building as a representation. This was a temple, not a burial site. Okay. And of course we know that your body is the temple of the perfect building. All the mathematics on planet Earth is found, has been found and measured and extracted, most of it anyway, from that remarkable piece of architecture. That's the representation of the spiritual self, okay, not the physical self, okay. We're talking symbology here, and we're talking about right back there. Okay. Question is, what is a African building doing on American money with Latin letters on it? It's a question some curious American Negro colored fellow might ask himself. And why is the eye raised above the building is another question one should and could ask oneself. I self-law. The compass and the square is the means of measuring law. The compass measures the circle. The square, right angle, measures the line and proves the corners of the line. In all of the design of creation, there are two things: the circle and the line. That's it. The whole of creation is the circle and the line. There is nothing else. In the architectural design of universe, there is the circle and the line. There is nothing else. Yes, sir. The G represents not God in the theologic sense. A, geometry. G, geometry. Or B, geometry, which is the circling of things. And of course, the Greek word, Greco-Latin, gnosis, which means knowledge, is why the G is in the center of the Masonic insignia of compass and square, that then denotes this particular symbol. Referred to as what? What is it referred to as? Somebody? Anybody? Speak up, speak out.
Star.
Not star. What kind of star? No, it's not 5 points. Y'all know what it is. Don't you Christian Jews be hiding back here. We know y'all think that's the Star of David. Don't you? That's what they told us, isn't it? I'm trying to quickly breeze through here and show this. Well, in terms of what we have already been miseducated to the meaning of things is what I'm getting at in order to be corrective. I can't flash through it and come up with it. Flash through it and come up with that for me, my brother.
Could it represent that the top is no more important than the base, and the base is no more important than the top?
No, it could not.
Okay.
What else does it represent besides?
5 points.
Now, where you've seen it. That's not. How do you get 5 points out of it?
She said 5 points.
So you're just going to say 5 points? Okay. What else? Where else have you seen this? Here in America, here in Atlanta, here in Georgia. No. Ma'am? Well, we've already underlined the fact of the marshal's badge, the highwayman's badge. And what is he wearing on his head? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Right in your face. Right? Right there. Okay. As above, so below. As within, so without. That's the law of correspondence. It is not Solomon's, David's, Billy, or whoever.
Of correspondence.
Of correspondence, the law of correspondence. As above, so below. Whatever is going on in your head is going on in your body. Whatever is going on inside your body is going on outside in your life. That's the way it's immediately relevant. Then it gets to be whatever is going on in the heavens is going on the earth. Whatever is going on the inside of the heavens is going on the inside of you in your spiritual, astral, invisible body. Okay? That's the law of correspondence. You keep that universal principle as you look at things moving in your world to comprehend why, how, you see. Because the law of correspondence keeps working with the other part of universal law.
Can I answer?
Yes, dear.
So are you saying,
I'm saying, go
I'm
on.
not saying, but if I was thinking that, are you able to, are you sort of suggesting that you could affect the heavens?
That you are already affecting the heavens. The heaven you're affecting
heaven is within us.
is on top of your head. That's the heaven you're affecting, for good or ill.
The mind.
That's right. Precisely. Very good. Very good. Very perceptive. And of course, the circle and the square, which is how much is that? Anybody? Come on, come on, come on. Let's do some quick math here. Don't look at me, young lady. Figure it out. 4 times, come on with something, y'all.
9, 9,
And 4 times 9 is what? Thank you. How many degrees are in this circle?
360.
All right. Thank you. And how much is 3 and 6? And how much is 3 and 6? And anybody seeing any correlation here? How many months did it take you to be born?
9.
How many numbers are there? How many planets are there? Anybody seeing any correlation? I like to do this stuff. It makes me look like I'm really intelligent. It is so clearly us and nature that when we get to it, it's like an illumination, because it is. Okay? Why the word edukare is important, to draw out. And that's what symbolism does. It draws, thank you. It draws out that which is within. And what is within? It is the truth. What truth? Your truth is within you. Okay. That's why it's important to do something that Drew Ali said. Man, go study thyself. And when you finish studying yourself, go back and study yourself again. That's a very wise statement. This is an Egyptian depiction of this wonderful geometric structure instead of the Star of David and Solomon's seal. Okay, this was a medallion given to the graduate of this auspicious university, the Osirian mystery system. It is now referred to in the Masonic lore. Okay.
You just said something. You said no.
Page 368. I got to remember that page. Yes.
You said no. To know yourself is to know your truth. Is that what you said?
To know your truth. Yes.
But Are you saying, I was thinking, are you saying there's a different truth for each person, or it's a universal truth?
No, it's a different truth for your group. Johnny Bawalowski is not asking his mother, Mama, how come I'm black? But we should be, and Mama should have the damn answer. See? Mama, how come my lips are big? Mama, how come my nose, how come my hair? That's part of your truth. And Mama and Daddy and Reverend Biscuit and the teacher should have those answers for black folks. Black children should not grow up in 1997 with a complex because they have dark skin, broad nose, thick lips, and furrowed hair. They should blush because they have such ornaments. See? That's a part of our truth. That your ancestors back through the times and ages stand at the threshold of divinity for millenniums is a part of your truth. And the idea of godhood is not a foreign idea to black folks. That is a part of your truth as expressed and exposed in your ancient history, not the history of the Gauls or Irish or Germans. See?
Are you saying that are you saying in so many that the spirituality of a certain group of people is different from that?
And I'm saying that the history of is different, and we're supposed to be different, and we have not been given that difference to distinguish self from someone else as less than has been our psychological problem. And it should not have been our psychological problem. It should have been our psychological clarity, revelation, truth, insight, understanding, to give us an upright position on planet Earth. That's what it should have been, and it was not done. Deliberately, not accidentally, you see, was what makes it relevant. Okay.
And one last question.
Yes.
Circle, are you saying that's 9999 or no?
Well, if you add it up, it equals 999 in 4 squares, doesn't it? But it's 33 1/3 degree in Masonic lore. This is the symbol of the perfect mind when you see it in the spirit. And it comes in the spirit when you get to that mental point. In other words, it's already in the spirit. You have to perceive it as you receive it. Not the numbers. You don't need the numbers to figure out that it's 360 degrees. The circle tells you that.
I'll ask you for explanation maybe after class, but is there some correlation between those 333s and why the man is changed to 666?
No, that has nothing to do with that. 666 is another code altogether. Okay, so we got pretty much this handled. Now let's look at this other concept. I'm moving a little slow here, but I want to make clear whatever I explain so that I'm not throwing stuff up in the air at you. That is English letters. Would you like to tell the class what that means, my dear? What else? Thank you. Okay. That is not Aleph Lam Lam Hamza. That would be the Arabic for Allah or Allah or whatever way one would want to pronounce it. Okay. This is English Codex Inscriptus, code written in. Okay? All right. Okay, we got that clarified. John 10:31-36 is the rationale of all of this study, that you might come to that celestial truth. Okay. What does John 10:31-36 say? Anybody? Give me the argument.
That's not just scriptures.
No, give me the argument. Give me the whole deal.
The
community, I guess, of
And not one of them got a Bible.
priests
No, not
were arguing with Yeshua
all right.
about his works and
Okay.
his supposed taking on the qualities of God.
Okay.
And he directed them to the scriptures and said that does not your scripture say that ye are God?
All right. Very good, my brother. And then he says, does not your scriptures say that ye are gods? And if your scriptures so read, they cannot be changed. What does that mean in terms of theology as well as meta-science? Is that this precept is fixed as to whether you believe it or not, as to whether you know it or not. You are gods, and you can't change it. Okay. The reference he's using is in their scriptures. That's what he says. He does not say, does not our scriptures say. He says, does not your scriptures say. Okay. It's Psalm 82, verse 5. They go on in darkness, knowing nothing. Did I not tell you that ye are gods? Yet you shall die like men and princes. That's not the whole of it, but that's it. From 5 to 8 is a clear statement of the second confirmation of the idea of godhood. G-O-D, an English word that is not somebody's name, but somebody's nature. G-O-D, generator, operator, destroyer, is the codex inscriptus of these three letters. Abbreviations. The brain is the generator of electricity and power. The soul is the operator of self that navigates, propels you through your life on this plane and the next. The destroyer factor is found in the sacral vertebrae, where the upcoming Kundalini, Sanskrit term for cosmic fire, and the coils that hook you up, that allows you to obtain everlasting life. That's what you're trying to do, is acquire those three states of consciousness. Not go to heaven, not just get baptized, not just get a white robe. You're trying to raise up something in self that makes you everlasting, that you grow into the Son of God. S-O-N and S-U-N. Same thing in terms of this circle and this dot. Again, universal symbology. The Son of God. Nous. Anybody know what that Greek word means? Mind. The Greek word for mind is nous. Those two words are in nous. S-O-N and S-U-N. That's called anagrammatic writing. Okay. Now what I want to jump over to Yeah, but I'm going to... Okay, let's go on with the Codex Inscriptus. Before you can get to be G-O-D, you first must become M-A-N. That is not male only. That is womb man, the first man. Code word. Master, able, and noble is the meaning of M-A-N, man. As I mentioned, we're talking about nature, male and female, made he, them, the polarity of feminine and masculine gender, not sex. Sex comes afterward. We're not sex or sexual. We have sexuality. So the principle of MAN is what allows us to master self and to master one's environment, one's world, and one's earth. To take dominion of the earth is the edict not of God as person, but of God as nature insists that man masters her and himself. Otherwise, he or she becomes a victim of something or someone else without self-mastery. And one is given then to sudden death, called accidents, violence, and tragedies. And that is not the way you're supposed to leave here. Okay, we continue with the Codex Inscriptus. The knowledge of self, the knowledge of the universe, is what Moorish science is. It has been woven into many other wondrous and baffling things, but it is knowledge of self and the universe. The 12 sons of Jacob are given in the scripture. And in this rendering of these 12 names, one is able to glean the replica, the descriptive of 12 signs behaving according to the hint by Jacob in Genesis chapter 49. That's what we've been looking at for the last 9 or 10 weeks. These 12 signs correspond to the 12 glands of the human body in terms of where and how power works through and as human being that allows him and her to express their divinity, their godhood, through these glandular orifices in the human body. The symbological representation of these 12 signs is indicative of how power is working not only in the microcosm, the little universe, us, and the macrocosm, the big universe. The alleged universal mind. Not the planets is not the universal mind. That which we cannot see, which supports the physical, is what we're talking about when we say universal mind. The planets and the stars is the replica of invisible that we are able to evaluate and measure towards human behavior and divine behavior as well. The forces of nature and how we are responding to those forces at some given time of hour, day, month, and year. Your birth data puts you in the circle. Okay. That is the logics of the stars, referred to as astrology. The symbology of astrology tells you about your nature, that shows a governing of, it's not clearly given in that, I don't know where that, I'm trying to figure out where that came from. I guess it doesn't matter. Hold on just a second. I want you to at least see this since I'm talking about it. Because I want to clarify that we're not talking about the Bible. We're not talking about Jacob and his sons. We're talking about you and your nature. you get a good look. You see who's in the center of that particular zodiac? Not a man, right, nor a cross. That's Rosicrucian. So is this. This is where the concept came out of, the Rosicrucian order, the clock of destiny. And I want to give them their propers and credit. But in terms of what this grand scheme represents, an evaluation, examination of the physical body and how it functions, and the energy in our solar system. Okay, we're not studying, this is not a representation of the universe. It's a representation of the solar system in relationship to the physical body. Okay? The universe is representative of 12 constellations, of which some constellations have as many as 8 suns in them. That's constellational astrology, which deals with the whole moving of systems rather than persons. But we're dealing with the energy relevant to our own human existence, behavior, and path or journey, our Torah through life. Okay? Journey, same word. The Torah, the Tara, Kemetic, so-called Hebrew, Latin. The journey. We're all on the journey. Okay. I'm not going to give you the 12 parts of a man. I want you to read The 12 Powers of Man by Charles Fillmore. I'm looking to see if I got any copies up there. I don't see any right offhand. It's a brown book, and it's worthy of your attention. There's another book titled The Healing Secrets of the Ages by Catherine Ponder, a must-reading as well. The first book I recommend, however, is this little blue book,
The Healing Secrets
of the Ages by Catherine Ponder. It's over there on the side shelf